Hi, my name is Stan.
My name is Connie.
My name is Judy.
My name is Aileen, and I'm a caregiver to my mother.
And I care for my mother, Octavia.
And I'm a caregiver for my mother.
And I'm a caregiver to my husband, Art.
I'm a caregiver for my wife, Ann, who's 72 years old.
Basically, I've done everything for providing for both of them.
I take care of my mother on the weekends. I take her grocery shopping.
Not only household chores,
I provide her medical care, coordination, driving, errands.
choosing meals, making meals, cleaning up.
I find that I take care of anything that he can't take care of.
Sometimes I find balancing time a real challenge.
The difficult part for me is taking me into consideration.
Balancing her needs with the needs of my family, the needs of my marriage, and my own needs.
Staying calm, nice, and positive.
The real challenge is, of course, the distance and the moment you get that last phone call.
What I love most about taking care of her is knowing that we're providing a secure and comfortable home for her.
It's the time we spend together.
Is the adventure of finding out new things all the time to trying to help him stay out of pain.
My name is Ed. I'm a spouse and I'm a caregiver.
My name is Colette. I'm a daughter and a caregiver.
I'm a caregiver, and I'm a daughter.
And I'm a wife and a caregiver.
I'm a daughter and a caregiver.
I'm a son, a nephew, and a caregiver.
Hi, my name is Deborah Day, and I help manage United Way Caregivers Coalition. While caring for a loved one has its special rewards, it's a very challenging job. It can be stressful, overwhelming, and sometimes lonely. Each caregiving situation is unique, but all caregivers share the need for information and support. And that's where the Caregivers Coalition comes in. We help caregivers receive the support they need to take care of their loved ones and to take care of themselves. Caregivers who lead healthy, productive lives will be better caregivers. The most important thing to remember is that as a caregiver, you're not alone.
My name is John Mopper. I'm a psychotherapist in Bridgewater, New Jersey. I work for GenPsych PC, and I'm here today to talk about a topic of mindfulness and interpersonal communication, how we can communicate better, how we can ask in healthy ways to get our needs met. But my day started out kind of strange. I woke up this morning, as I normally do, and I have this new puppy, so I have to take the puppy out. So I'm now officially a caregiver also, all right? I don't have any children, but I have a puppy. I'm gonna work with that first and see how it goes. So I took the puppy out, and I went back inside and I checked my phone like I normally do in the morning. I'm going through emails and I'm making coffee, and I check my bank account statement, and I noticed this charge on my statement for $1,000, and next to it, it just says coach. And I said, coach? I'm thinking like, baseball coach, football coach. Now, my girlfriend and I, we share a bank account. And so I woke her up and I said, hey, hon, I noticed this charge on this account. Can you tell me, what is this? And she's like, oh, yeah, I've been meaning to tell you about that. She spent $1,000 on a handbag out of our joint account. All right, so I was a little bit taken aback, and so it led to this huge argument in the morning. It was this big blowout, and I get into my car. Now I have to go to work, right? So I get into my car to go to work, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how can she have spent $1,000 on this handbag as I'm driving to work? And I'm driving to work, and I'm drinking my coffee, and this guy cuts me off. And I start yelling at this guy, right? Because I'm still kind of wrapped around this argument I just got into. And I'm screaming at this guy, and I spill hot coffee all over my leg, right? So finally, I get to work, and of course now I'm at work telling them the story, my coworkers, the story about, the argument, and then, how I got cut off, and now I got this coffee, going down my leg, and I honestly, and I had to prepare for this presentation tonight, and I was really struggling to do so because I'm still kind of stuck on this argument I had, and the coffee I spilled, and the guy that cut me off, and I really didn't get all that much work done today. And the reason is basically because I wasn't living in the present moment today. You know, the day flew by and I couldn't tell you, other than those few key events I just spoke about, what actually happened throughout my day. You know, I had interactions with some of my clients in passing in the hallway, and I spoke, to my supervisor at one point, but the details are kind of missing. And the reason is because my head was wrapped around things that had happened in the past. I wasn't staying mindful. Mindfulness is really our ability to stay in the present moment, to be fully present. To be here, and all you guys are here in this moment right now. I see you, unless I'm hallucinating right now, but I really don't think I am. You're all here, but you might be thinking about, something you have to do when you go home from here, or something that happened on the way here, or something you did before here, so you're not fully present. You might be hearing my words, but not fully absorbing them. So today, what happened was, I got into this argument with my girlfriend to start the day. I got into my car, and I'm still thinking about that argument as I'm driving, and that guy cuts me off, right? And then because I'm still wrapped around that argument, I'm yelling at this guy and spilling coffee on myself. And now because I'm at work then, after that, and I'm still thinking about the coffee I spilled on my leg, I'm not getting my work done because I'm not in the present moment. So let's rewind and see how that could have gone a lot differently. So let's say I still wake up, same routine, I check my phone, $1,000 thing, get into the argument with my girlfriend, which is fine. And then I have to leave for work. But this time, instead of just, wrapping my head around it and not letting go, this time what I do is I get in my car, I take a second, I take a breath, and I say, okay, I have to go to work now. There's nothing I can do about this situation with my girlfriend now, okay? Let me put on some good music and try to stay as present as possible and drive to work. So now I'm driving to work, and maybe I don't even get cut off this time because I'm present, I'm in that moment, and I see the guy coming a mile away, and he cuts me off anyway, let's say, but I choose not to react. I see him, I'm like, okay, maybe he's in a hurry, and I keep it moving. Then I get to work, and I'm not still wrapped around this big argument, and I'm able to be present in my job and do what I need to do because I was mindful, because I stayed present. So this comes down to really, is for those of you who are caring for someone else in your life, caring for a loved one. I think you've probably heard this analogy before. It's kind of like if you're in a plane crash and the oxygen masks drop down, they tell you to put yours on first and then assist your child or then assist the person next to you. Because if you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be of any help to the person sitting next to you. And that's what really I want to talk to you a little bit about today. There's this gentleman by the name of Viktor Frankl. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with him. He ended up being this really famous psychiatrist. He gave us what's called, I think, logotherapy. I can't tell you much about logotherapy, but it's not really relative to the story, so that's okay. So he gave us logotherapy, but anyway, as a small child, he was imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp with his entire family, his brothers, his sisters, his aunts, his uncles, grandparents, parents. You get what I'm saying. Big families back then, right? And over the years that he was imprisoned in this Nazi concentration camp, they got split up, some went to other camps, but eventually every single one of his family members was assassinated except for him. He was the only person to survive. And not only did he survive, but even as a small boy, he managed to maintain a positive attitude while living and surviving inside this concentration camp. He would go around, he would do chores, he'd help other people out, he'd whistle songs, whatever he could do. So then much later on in life, he becomes this famous psychiatrist, and he writes this book called Man's Search for Meaning. And in the book, he writes, hold on, I'm going to try to remember it right. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our freedom to choose our response, and in that choice lies our freedom and our growth. So what he's saying is like, hey, negative stuff's going to happen to us. That negative stimulus is going to happen to us. We're going to lose jobs. Our loved ones are going to act up and, maybe yell at us one day. And these things are going to happen. But we have a choice on how we're going to move forward from there. We have a choice on how we're going to respond. Now, the deal is, though, if you're mindful, if you're present and you're in the present moment, and maybe your loved one says something really mean to you, purposefully trying to hurt your feelings, okay? They say something mean. You can recognize, hey, they just said something mean to me. I have a decision to make right now about how I'm going to choose to respond right now. What am I going to do moving forward? So mindfulness is like having this slow motion button, right? It's like something happens and it's like hitting the slow motion button and saying, what am I going to do right now? How am I going to choose to respond to this? Now, if I just got in from work and I'm thinking about how I just got screamed at by my boss and I'm still kind of living in that when I walk in the door, and then my loved one says something kind of mean to me, the chances of me recognizing that I have a decision to make are pretty slim. But the chances of me reacting as opposed to responding kind of go up at that point. So being mindful and learning to stay present and be in that present moment really gives us the ability to recognize when we have a decision to make and kind of choose how is this going to play through? If I do this, what does the rest of the tape look like moving forward? So mindfulness is something that I try to practice every day. It's hard. It's really hard to stay in the present moment. And it's a practice just like anything else. And the only way I could kind of like really kind of explain it to you in really simple terms, who here remembers when you were maybe younger and you had a hard time falling asleep, they would tell you to count sheep. Try to count sheep. Did anyone ever tell you to count sheep? Yeah? So what that's about is basically if you're having a hard time falling asleep at night, chances are it's because your thoughts are wrapped around something that either happened beforehand or you're worrying about something that might happen the next day, right? So you're not present at that time. You're worrying maybe about what's going on the next day. By trying to count sheep, it makes your thoughts, it pulls your thoughts away from whatever it is you're worrying about and forces you just to focus on the sheep, right? But I don't know about you, but what happens with me is I get to like 2 sheep, and then all of a sudden my thoughts come in again, and I start like, thinking about it. I'm like, what was I doing? Oh, that's right, I was counting sheep again, right? So then I start again, and maybe I get to 3 sheep this time. And then my thoughts come in again. I start worrying about what this project I have to work on, and then maybe I get to 4 sheep. And that's the practice of mindfulness. It's just trying to focus on one thing in the moment, acknowledging when your thoughts are starting to come in and interfere, or when you're thinking about the past or the present, and then try to focus back on the present again. And then when it happens again, you do it again. When it happens again, you do it again. It's like just doing exercises. The more you do it, the stronger your mindfulness will become. So once we're mindful and we're in the present moment and we run into a time where maybe we need to ask our loved one to do something. Okay, is there anything out there right now that maybe you run into a constant like battle as for like what, asking someone you're caring for to do and they refuse to do it, and you're asking them to do it and they refuse to do it over and over and over again? Anything like that? Maybe taking medication or anything like that? Or?
Are you talking about sane people or people who are out of sound mind?
It doesn't matter. It could be anyone. It could be the guy at Verizon. It really doesn't matter.
I'm thinking of my mother who's got dementia.
Okay. So it might be tough with someone with dementia, but really what would happen for someone, we were dealing with someone with dementia, and they're really maybe in that moment, not able to fully understand what it is that you're talking about. What it comes down to is really, I'm sure, and it seems like you already do, managing your own self-care, realizing, being able to be mindful enough that, hey, you know what? She doesn't have control over this right now. I don't have control over this right now. I have to accept that this is something that I'm just going to have to, kind of deal with, and that it's not being done purposefully. She's not trying to hurt my feelings, right? But when it comes down to asking for a loved one for something, maybe it's asking them to move into a different facility. Maybe it's, just asking them to take better care of themselves. It could start with first thinking about what's going to be the most important thing in this interaction. Is it A, getting my objective met, getting what I want? This is what I want from the person, getting my objective met. B, maintaining my relationship with this person. Or C, my self-respect. Okay, and we want to kind of put those in order each time we have to ask somebody for something. What's going to be the most important thing in this situation? So once we establish that, we could kind of figure out how strongly we're going to be asking this person for something, right? If it's I'm asking the guy at Verizon, like I said earlier, to lower my cell phone bill. Getting my objective met is my top priority, obviously. I don't really have much of a relationship with the person at Verizon, So if So I could go at it a little bit stronger. I could be more assertive in that moment. But if I'm dealing with a loved one, or if I'm dealing with my mother, if I'm asking my mother for something, then chances are I'm going to really look at my relationship first, then my self-respect, and then probably my objective last, unless my objective is really important for her health, right? So once I determine what's the most important, now I want to go through and decide how I'm going to go about asking for what I want. So let's take the example of what happened to me this morning with my girlfriend who spent $1,000 on a handbag. So I would moving forward, first I have to determine, well, one, I want to maintain my relationship first, okay? My relationship's going to be the most important in that situation. My self-respect usually comes in third. And getting my objective met is probably going to come second. And so what I'm going to be asking for is, hun, we have this joint account. If you're going to spend over, let's say, $500, I'd like you to kind of check in with me first, all right? So that's what I want, okay? So the skill that I'm talking about is called Dear Man, like D-E-A-R, man, M-A-N, okay? It's an acronym. And the D stands for describe, okay? And describe is just the facts of what you want. Now, you can use this in any interaction with your loved one. You can use it when you're out at a restaurant. You can use it, anytime. And it's really effective. It's really healthy. And you know what? It increases your chances of getting your needs met. So D is describe. It's just the facts of what you want. There's no feeling words in there. So it would sound something like, hun, when it comes to our joint account, if you're going to spend over $500, from that account, I'd like for you to talk to me first. Before even starting this conversation, timeliness. Really gauging, is this a good time for me to ask, okay? Now, I don't want to ask, you don't want to ask somebody when they're really in a bad mood or maybe just coming in from work. Also, timeliness in our relationship, is this a good time for me to ask? In the bigger picture of things, is this a good time for me to ask? So once we establish that, and maybe it starts with something like, hey, hun, when you have a few minutes later on after dinner, I'd really like to talk to you about something. It's nothing bad, I just want to talk to you about something. It lets the person know that I'm serious about this. I really, I want your attention. I don't want to have this as a passing conversation in the kitchen, right? So D, hun, when you, if you're going to use the joint account and you're going to spend over $500, I really would like you to check in with me first and we could talk about it. E stands for express. Okay, this is how you feel or what your opinion is about what you're asking for. Okay, so this would sound like something like, well, when you spend that much money out of our joint account without talking to me first, I feel like you don't respect me. I feel like you're taking advantage, okay? We want to use these I statements, not, you're taking advantage of me, right? You're making me angry. These are very it's almost like it's an attack. When you do this, I feel this, right? When you spend this $1,000, I feel like you're not respecting me. I feel like you're taking advantage, right? And then the A in Dear Man stands for assert yourself. All right. Now there's a difference between being assertive and being aggressive, right? Or also some of us struggle. Maybe some of us are passive, right? So I'll give another example. Let's say I'm out to dinner and I order a bacon cheddar cheeseburger cooked medium, right? And I'm waiting for my burger. I'm making conversation, and my burger comes out. I take a bite out of my burger and there's bloody burger juice all over the place. It's going down my shirt. It's it's still mooing on the plate. It's so rare, right? Now, if I was like, oh, hun, I don't know. Should I send it back? Maybe I'll just eat my fries. I don't know. I feel bad. All right, excuse me, waiter. I'm really sorry. But would you mind sending this back and switching out my burger? It's a little undercooked. Being passive, right? No one really responds to that. It seems weak. It seems kind of, just you're fidgeting and It doesn't get the point across. Now, at the other end of that, like I take the bite out of the burger and it's too rare, and I get up and I'm like, what is this? I want the manager now. I want this for free. I want her salad for free. I want free sundaes at the end. What is it? I'm gonna write a nasty Yelp review, and that doesn't really get you anything but a waiter spitting in your food later on, right? For being aggressive. In the middle of that is, excuse me, hi, I ordered my burger to be cooked medium, and unfortunately it seems to come out a little bit too rare, so I'd really appreciate it if you could take that back and switch it out for a new burger. Thank you. It's assertive. I'm not raising my voice. I'm making eye contact. I'm clear, concise. I'm not fidgeting. If you guys struggle with fidgeting when you're talking to people, maybe you get a little anxious sometimes, you could do what's called toe push-ups. Where, see, I do this. I talk with my hands a lot, but I used to, when I would talk in front of people, I used to do this. And it was like, I think a form of like self-soothing. I was almost like telling myself it's okay, But instead, it's because I have all this pent-up energy inside of me. Instead, I use my feet and I just push my feet into the ground, right? So all my energy is kind of going out through my feet right now, but you can't tell, right? But I'm down there, I'm freaking out actually, right? So that's just one way. Maybe if you present a little anxious or a little passive, you can make yourself look a little bit more assertive. So then finally we come to R. And R in the Dear Man stands for reinforce. And this is really important. What this means is, how is it going to benefit your loved one that you're asking for something? So my girlfriend, to give me what I want. Okay, so how does it benefit my girlfriend to give me what I want, which means to call and check in with me if she's going to spend over $500 with the joint account? Anyone give me an example of how it's going to benefit her?
She knows that you'll know that she likes Coach bands.
Okay, so all right, so what you said was I'll know that she likes Coach pocketbooks. Okay, do you still call it pocketbooks? Is that a word? No, that's my mother calls them pocketbooks. So purses, bags. All right, sorry. She likes. So I'll know. So that way. So hon, if you when you call me and let me know that you want to buy something, that way I can store it in my memory for every occasion moving forward that I know it's a purchase for you. Okay, maybe. What would it do for our relationship?
Makes it more open and honest.
Yeah, more open, more honest. I would feel more respected, right? And more, I wouldn't feel like I'm taken advantage of, right? Which would save a lot of arguments. And, I don't know. What other way could it benefit her to give me what? Are you raising your hand?
Sorry, I feel like I'm in school.
That's okay.
She won't feel guilty that she's hiding something from you.
That's a good one. I like that. So she said you won't feel guilty that she's hiding something from you, because guilt is a really kind of nasty emotion, right? When we feel guilty about something and we're hiding something and being sneaky, that brings up a lot of stuff for us.
She might not have felt guilty though, or sneaky about it. She probably just bought it and didn't really think it was a big deal.
It's possible. So maybe someone wouldn't, but no, I think she did feel a little bit bad about it. So you said that maybe she didn't feel guilty. Well, yeah, hoping I wouldn't notice $1,000. Yeah. She knows how much I make, so So yeah, I would definitely notice $1,000 missing for sure. But yeah, I like that. You want to feel guilty. Hey, listen, I know, you want me to be honest, and I want you to be honest, and I know you don't like sneaking around. And you know what? If you were to call and talk to me about these things that you want to buy, it would save us an argument. I know you don't like to argue, and also, it would make me want to kind of even like go out and get you some more things on my own. If you're being more open and more honest with me, right? So then the M stands for we're going to stay mindful. We're going to stay in the present moment. All right. So if she starts bringing up past things, or we start getting off on tangents, I'm constantly bringing it back to what it is we're talking about. And constantly bring it back, because sometimes we could get kind of distracted when we're asking someone for something. They could start talking about things from 5 years ago or something else they want to talk about. Constantly bringing it back to the topic, right? And then A stands for appear confident. which I think they just needed another A to finish out the acronym, because it's kind of the same as asserting yourself. And then N. N's my favorite. N stands for negotiate. What are you willing to give in order to get what you want? So, hun, if you call and check in with me when you want to make a purchase over $500 out of the joint account, when I say that I'm coming home in 15 minutes from a night out with the boys, I will be home in 15 minutes. Because I know that's something that gets her kind of upset when I say, I'll be home in like 15 minutes, and I show up 2 hours later, So it's something, a negotiation. So that conversation, which was this big argument in the morning that's kind of screwed up my whole day, could have been, hun, I'd like to talk to you when you get a chance. So she finally gets a chance, and we sit down, and I say, if you're going to spend more than $500 out of our joint account, I really would appreciate it if you would call me so we could talk about it first. When you don't call me and you buy these things, we spend all this money out of our joint account, I feel somewhat disrespected. I also kind of feel like you're taking advantage of me. And I know that you don't want me to feel that way, and I know that that's not healthy for our relationship. So by calling and talking to me about these things and being more open and honest with me is going to help our relationship, and it's also going to help me feel more secure in our relationship, because I know that one day you do want to get married, right? Sorry. And at the same time, yeah, a little bit. At the same time, if you're willing, I just threw that one in there. And I know that you hate when I say I'm going to be home, whether it be from work or going out with my buddies, and I'm saying I'm going to be home and I stay out like an extra hour, or I stay at work extra late. So if you work on calling me when we're going to make purchases over $500, I'll be sure to work on getting home when I say I'm going to be home. All right. So that was an example with this, what happened with me this morning. But that could be used in, let's say, do you guys know what it means to validate somebody? Acknowledging that I know how you're feeling right now, right? So you might not agree with why they're feeling the way they're feeling, okay? But the feeling is still there. Even if the thoughts leading up to that feeling are just totally obscure to you, the feeling's still there. So if I came in here and I was like, oh my God, guys, I'm having the worst day ever. I feel like, I just want to die. My cat's at home and he's got a cold. You would look at me like, okay, what's wrong with this crazy cat person, right? But the truth is that, maybe you don't agree with why I'm feeling really upset, but I'm telling you I'm feeling really upset. So to validate me would be like, wow, I hear you must be feeling really upset right now. I'm really feeling sorry. I know what it's like to have a sick pet. You're validating the person. You're acknowledging their feelings. So you always want to validate first. Let's say you're not feeling validated by a loved one, that people aren't validating how you're feeling, right? That could be, you could use this dear man skill for that. It would sound something like, Mom, I really would like you to validate my feelings more. When you don't validate my feelings, I feel like I don't matter to you. That's the E, right? At the same time, if you were to validate my feelings more, I'd be more open to coming to you and talking to you about what's going on with me right now, right? So that's the reinforcement. She wants me to talk to her about what's going on. So I'm saying if you would validate me more, I'd come to you more, right? And at the same time, I know you get really upset when I cut you off when you're talking. So if you work on validating my feelings more, I'll work on not interrupting you when you're speaking. So we're talking about just healthy ways of just getting our point across. This is what I want from you. This is how I feel about what I want. This is how it's going to benefit you to give me what I want. And at the same time, this is what I'm willing to give up in order to get what I want. Because nothing in this world is really black and white when we're talking about people that we love. We always have to find that gray area in the middle, finding that where we could kind of both figure out where we could both get our needs met, but by giving up a little bit. You asked, do I have any techniques that can be used when it comes to communicating when we have a habit a way of doing things, whether it be like interrupting or it be raising our voice or getting angry, techniques to deal with that. So basically, it's like throughout our lives, we've been socialized to do that, okay? That we've become, it's almost like let's use substance abuse for an example, right? People who use substances, maybe they start to feel kind of anxious, right? And then they take this substance and they feel kind of loopy, but they don't feel anxious anymore, right? And there's a reward associated with that. And they do that over and over and over again. So then eventually their brain gets trained to, every time I feel anxious, where's the substance? Where's the substance? I need the next step, right? So over time, if we've been communicating, we've learned, from others, maybe watching our parents, or we learn to communicate that way, or maybe how not to communicate, right? We've been doing it for so long, and it becomes a habit or a pattern, right? It's hard to break that. It comes down to, again, is really the mindfulness piece. Is really going into, like, if we're going to have a conversation, saying to myself beforehand, okay, I'm about to have a conversation right now. Okay, we're about to discuss something that's gonna be stressful. Be ready for this. And like kind of gearing yourself up. I'm gonna talk, and then I'm gonna listen, and then and then he's gonna talk, and and it's gonna go back and forth, and I'm gonna listen. I'm not just gonna wait for my turn to talk, because there's a big difference, right? But really just going into it mindfully. So you'll catch yourself. Maybe you'll catch yourself starting to interrupt, right? And then you'll say, oh, I'm interrupting again. Hey, I apologize. But you acknowledge it, And it's really just about being present in the conversation and not coming from what we would call emotional mind. Especially if it becomes a heated conversation and when our emotions start to get involved in it. Our emotions start to dictate our behaviors, right? I'm feeling really angry right now, and so now, how many times have we said something that we didn't mean, to somebody? We've all done it at some point, and it's because we're speaking from our emotions. We're not speaking from being reasonable or rational, right? When we have a conversation with someone, we want to take our emotions into account, but at the same time, be reasonable and rational about them. I'm feeling angry, but just because I'm feeling angry does not mean I have to act angry. Right? I can talk about it, I can work on it, but it's really being mindful and present and making sure that I'm not coming from a place of emotional mind. I'm coming from what DBT or dialectical behavioral therapy would call wise mind, which is where, like I said, we recognize our emotions, but then are still rational and reasonable about them. When you're dealing with a parent who's someone that you're supposed to respect, and they're feeling that they're being disrespected by someone, their child, how do you handle that situation like that? So here's the deal. We can be really skillful, all right? We can learn all of these skills to be interpersonally effective, right? We can do a great dear man and really come at them and really validate and be really sincere and genuine. And our parents might not have those same skills, right? And especially at their age, the chances of them changing are pretty slim to none, right? I hope at that point in my life that I'm not going to be making any changes. I'm going to be, kind of stuck right there. But the thing is, so it comes back to our skills, really. And it's what we would call radical self-acceptance, okay? Radical acceptance. So in that interaction, it's more about coming away with your own self-respect, maintaining the relationship, but coming away with your own self-respect that, hey, I went in here, I had his or her best intentions at heart, I was clear, I was concise, I conversed in a healthy way, I did the best that I could. And if they're not being skillful or they're not hearing me, I have to just accept that this is just what it is, and it has nothing to do with me, and it's kind of on them. That way, I walk away with my self-respect because it can get really, really frustrating. I get it. I get it when you're trying to talk to them and you want the best for them, and you're not getting a response, or they're thinking that you're being disrespectful and you're really just trying to help. And that frustration could lead you to come from a place of emotional mind and maybe say something you don't mean, or get upset, or and then affect the whole rest of your day. Because you're still, like I was today, wrapped around this interaction you had with your mother or your father, right? And then it carries on through the rest of your day, and the rest of your day is kind of held hostage with this anger and this frustration and this stress, and that's no way to live. It's really, we do the best that we can and say, hey, I accept that this was the best that I could. And I hope you do, the right thing, and then be able to walk away and leave that interaction where it is and live the rest of your day mindfully. So that one interaction doesn't have to impact the rest of your day or keep you awake at night. But yeah, to be able to accept, there's a lot of things that we have to accept in life. There's a lot of negative things that are going to happen to us, all right? And continue to. We don't have control over that. But when we recognize that these negative things that happen to us are things that we don't have control over, but the one thing that we do have control over, like Viktor Frankl says, is the choice on how we're going to respond, right? All this bad stuff can happen around us, but it doesn't have to impact the rest of our day, the rest of our lives. We can choose to respond in the way we want, and we can choose to leave it in the past where it is. Even if it's 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago, we could still leave it there and not allow it to impact the rest of our day. Anything else? Thanks so much for your time, guys. I really appreciate it.